The rise of digital distribution of games has changed the landscape drastically, bringing a massive convenience to the consumer but also giving platform holders like Sony and Microsoft more money due to them selling them on their own stores instead of in retail stores like GameStop. I wouldn't mind if this wasn't all a wolf in sheep's clothing, with the outcome being the end of physical games entirely. The internet is the definition of goldfish brained, and the most recent example of this is an email Ubisoft put out warning their account users that if they didn't log in frequently, their accounts would be terminated. And with that, their game libraries would also be deleted, asking the question, do we really own our games? And to be frank, the answer is no. If you don't own a physical copy of a game, then no, you don't own it. Heck, even some of your physical games you don't own, due to them being always online games. The reason I bring up the internet's goldfish brain is because this has always been a thing. If a platform holder like Sony bans your account, everything you brought, no matter the amount, will be deleted. So they must be really strict on who they ban, right? Nope. They can ban you for pretty much anything, with little to no repercussions for false bans. But the internet will just forget next week, so who really cares? Owning a physical copy of a game is technically the only way to own a game, but even physical copies have their problems. A year or two ago, some PS4 users had their CMOS batteries die, resulting in them not being able to play their physical games. Sony did patch this, and the PS5 physical edition does not have the same problem, but with this happening, it should be a grim reminder that when these platforms do die, so do our physical games. Moreover, the Microsoft side of this isn't any better. In some cases, it's actually worse. Xboxers, ever since the Xbox One generation, have not been able to play games unless you were connected to the internet. They did somewhat change this in an update last year, but you still can't play 360 games while not connected to the internet. But at this point, Microsoft doesn't want you to own physical versions of their games. They want you to get them on Game Pass and further their subscription base. And if you're a PC gamer, you're just screwed. PC gaming today is pretty much digital exclusive. I think you would have to look back at PCs from 10 years ago to find a disc reader. And even if you did have a disc reader, the likelihood of your game that you want having a PC physical edition is almost zero. Steam does have an offline mode, which kinda resembles somewhat of an owned feeling, but the problem Steam runs into is like any of the other big major platform holders. If they wanted to, they could just ban and delete your account with your games. Steam bans currently don't seem to take away your access to broke games, but who knows if it'll always be this way. PC gaming has many advantages over console gaming, but the idea of owning my games is a big reason on why I buy console games exclusively. Because if Sony, Microsoft or Nintendo wanted to ban me, I could still play my games if I wanted to. Moving on, it makes sense why platform holders want to get away from physical releases. Why make a disc version of a game and ship it out to retailers knowing they're taking some of the profits, when you could save that money from shipping and shared profits by selling a game on your own digital marketplace, where you take the lion's share of the money. Moreover, if games become digital exclusive, then the pre-owned market dies, resulting in platform holders and developers making more money, due to you having to buy a game at their price and not at a discounted one set by a retailer. Physical gaming is great for the consumer because of the pre-owned market, and the ability to share games with family and friends. But the reality of it all is platform holders hate the pre-owned market and shared games, because they make no money off the resale of pre-owned games, and when given the opportunity to eradicate physical games, they will. The industry has been moving towards the digital era ever since the PS4 and Xbox One generations, but with the new generation of consoles coming with digital exclusive versions, it has cemented the future will be digital. Humans like me or you want what's most convenient, and even I, who strictly buy games physically, have brought digital games before, because sometimes I just want to play a game on its midnight launch. Not everything is perfect, both physical and digital have their problems, so I think it's best for the games industry to keep them both. Why change a trend that has worked for decades for a little bit more money? But that's the problem, money. The companies that hold the industry together are all in servitude to their investors, and no one wants to see their investments go down in value. So what happens is, they pressure developers into making brain-dead decisions to make them happy. I don't fault anyone wanting more money, but making a product worse for better profit margins doesn't help the product. Every industry on planet Earth is going digital. I don't want to get too introspective, but do you own anything on your phone? Heck, do you even own your phone? The world with the evolution of the internet has become a digital space, and with the offerings of the internet being too great to not indulge in. The internet and the digital space has elevated the human race, giving us access to things once thought impossible. It's just the repercussions or the feelings of owning something. Games are not alone in wanting us to pay for something which is not physical. Music is the big one that comes to mind. An industry once reliant on disc sales, but now one in the servitude of streaming sites like Spotify. Music still does have its physical niche with things like vinyls, but just like where I think gaming is going, they're uncommon, with the only people supporting the physical side being people that stand to gain from releasing something physical. With subscription services like Game Pass becoming the norm, I don't see see physical staying around in its current form for much longer. Physical will always have its place because there will always be a market for it, but it won't be the main way we consume games. The way every industry is going is subscriptions, like I just said about music, but on a more grander scale, with things like phones and computers already having the ability to be bought through subscription-like services, and even things like movies and TV shows are also already there with things like Disney Plus and Netflix. Subscription services work due to their monthly asking price, which is often low to create the illusion of an altogether lower price, while then preying on forgetful people who forget to unsubscribe when done with the service. Just like the digital space, I don't entirely hate its concept when done right, I just don't want it to become the norm. I don't want to push this agenda that everything digital is bad. A blessing in disguise that comes with digital games is game preservation, and with a recent study suggesting that 87% of retro games are lost to time, with some of them games being physical only releases, meaning no one might ever be able to play those games again without emulation. Personally, I would rather buy a game than emulate it, but there will soon be a time where that is impossible to do. But even with emulation, there will still be games that are completely lost. Digital is an opportunity for us to preserve anything we hold dear forever, but that's also a very scary thing. To think our photos, games and music that we might want to share with our children may be lost because a platform holder didn't like something you did. At the end of the day, digital is the future. Time destroys all, even ourselves. And if we want to preserve the things we hold most dear, then we have to accept the space. That's not saying that we should accept it in its current form. It needs to be better. Being banned or not logging into an account should not result in losing everything you've brought or done. I don't personally see physical going anywhere in the near future, like I've already said. But when we do meet that turning point, I hope that we have the right of ownership. Time will always tell what happens, and with the advancements made through the internet and the digital space, there is no turning back. I think I might have made this too introspective, but it's just how I feel. I like owning my things, even though I'm just like everyone else paying monthly subscriptions for music and movies. But gaming for me has always been about the games and the moments they've gave me, so I'm not losing sleep over not being able to own them. Don't get me wrong, if I could physically own my games and have them not rot away, of course I would. But that's not the reality we live in. We live in a world where everything ages and eventually fades away. So if digital is the necessary evil to have access to my things for essentially forever, then I will just have to get used to it, because I care more for keeping the things I care forever than having them until they ultimately fade away.